Welcome to the Kenobi Podcast. This is Chris Kenobi, and yes, we are in the Jedi bunker tonight. Now, listen, Tucker Carlson just did a session on the 10 things that America needs to change. Now, I believe that this is the new manifesto, his new manifesto for the new political party that him, along with Marjorie Taylor Greene and all his crew, Tom Massey, they all got together recently. They're coming up with a new party that's a counter to the Democratic Party and a counter to what's known as MAGA. Because the Republican Party, as it stands today, is clearly MAGA. So Tucker's coming up, and I guess he is going to be the mouthpiece or the spokesman for this new party. And he came up with a manifesto of the 10 things that America needs. So we're going to pick those things apart. We're going to talk to Tucker about them, and we're going to see exactly if these things exist or even if they're doable with Tucker's new party. Tucker, you take it from here.
Interests of the people it serves and governs. It's just the nature of it. So what's a preacher's job? It's to minister to the souls of his congregants. What's a president's job? It's to look out for, to protect the interests of his citizens. Really.
And let's face it, Tucker, the reason why you're starting this new party is because the president, of which you used to support and campaign for, is not doing the job of protecting its citizens.
Really simple. It's inherent to the definition. So it's been obvious for a while now that our system is not working as intended because the people in charge of it seem to be looking out mostly, not exclusively, but mostly for their own interests. And you see that all around you. Government workers make more than the average American. That kind of says it as clearly as anything, but you see it up and down every institution in American life. A lot of them seem to be run primarily for the benefit of the people who run them, and that is bad. And they're less hidden about it than they've ever been. I mean, they're off buying private islands and...
Now, let's be honest. He's coming out against those very people he used to hang out with. Who's buying a private island, Tucker? Just call out the name. Don't be scared. Jared Kushner and Ivanka just bought a private island, and the country that they brought it in is rising up and calling out the corruption and the approval that Jared and Ivanka got to buy the island. So see, this is the thing about Tucker. He skirts around it. He doesn't want to call it out. No, say it. You're talking about the Kushners.
Exempting themselves from the rules that apply to you, and that has caused enormous frustration and resentment from ordinary people. It's like, wait a second, you're not following your own rules. Like, I have to stay home during COVID and you're going to the French Laundry. Because what are you, a king now? And the answer is, yeah, kinda. So that's a very recognizable degradation of a system. It just gets more corrupt over time, and the people with power use it to benefit themselves.
We got to be honest about this corruption, though, Tucker. You didn't care about the corruption until Trump really started, I'm going to say it, assaulting America. You didn't care about the corruption before, but now that clearly you've been betrayed, you were inside the camp, and now you're calling out the very thing that you used to be a part of. Now, let's be honest. If you're going to be honest and talk about this, Tucker, let's be honest about it.
Families and their friends, and
yeah.
After a while, you call it the Epstein class because that's exactly what it is.
Again, the betrayal of President Trump to Tucker and Marjorie all started over one thing: his lack of transparency for the Epstein files. Epstein class? Yeah. Who's the Epstein class, Tucker? Again, call it out. President Donald Trump has been named in the Epstein files more than 38,000 times. Call it, Tucker. And he said to Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I paraphrasing quote, you need to drop this or my friends at Mar-a-Lago are going to get hurt. So the Epstein class starts with the President of the United States, and it drills down all the way to Mar-a-Lago.
Group of self-interested people acting on their own behalf against yours. Okay. And that's, again, bad. But it can limp along for a long time because that's just the nature of systems. That's the Ottoman Empire went from conquering half the world to being kind of pathetic and just basically focused on the harem. And in the end, it dissolved. But something different has happened to our system, and it's obvious recently. So it's one thing to have a system run by people who are looking out for their own best interest and not yours. Again, we've had that. It's another to have a system that's totally incapable of responding to reality, that is basically paralyzed. And unfortunately, ominously, that's the system that we now have. And we know that because the two greatest threats, arguably, in all recorded history, and those would be nuclear war and AI, are looming right in front of us. And no one in our society in a position of authority seems capable of responding at all or even really acknowledging that this is happening.
Well, let's be honest about it. As far as AI is concerned, the reason why nobody's responding to it again is because the corruption and the unleashing of AI is coming from the Trump administration. Trump is not concerned about AI taking jobs from Americans. Trump is not concerned even about the safety issues of AI concerning the things that we are going to give AI the ability to do, the authority to do. You know, there's rumors that AI was responsible for giving the coordinates that blew up the girls' school in Iran. Now, that's allegedly, but that's what I've heard. Now, the truth of the matter is, Tucker, Donald Trump doesn't care about anybody unless their name is Trump. So no, he is unleashing AI because a lot of diversification of the Trump investments are in AI. And that's why he's pushing data centers all over the country. As far as the nuclear war goes, what's your thoughts on that?
It's like they're frozen, staring at the trees that approaches the windshield at 70 miles an hour. It really does feel that way. And if you listen carefully, that is where we are. So we are moving toward, on this trajectory, if it holds, we are moving toward a nuclear exchange.
Now, when he's talking about a nuclear exchange, he's talking about the possibility at some point when Donald Trump realizes he cannot beat the Iranians with a ground war, which he is too scared to do. He cannot defeat the Iranians by continuing to blow up and bomb their infrastructure. Because to be perfectly honest, America is running out of weapons. We're running out of missiles. We're basically running out of bullets. And the only bullets he's got left after he explores and unleashes and uses everything in his arsenal, the only thing he's got left is nuclear bombs. And some fear that at some point when he realizes he can't do anything else, he will push the red button and fire nuclear bombs at Iran. Of course, he is threatening this. Now, as far as he's saying world war, that's because Russia at some point is also going to realize that they haven't made the progress in all of these years fighting Ukraine. What does Russia have left as Zelensky is hitting Russian infrastructure? Nuclear weapons. If Trump goes against Iran with nuclear, he's going to have to worry about China getting involved, Kim Jong-un, North Korea getting involved, Russia getting involved. Russia hits Ukraine, we got to deal with Poland and all the NATO countries getting involved. So yeah, I agree with you, Tucker. The possibility with a crazy man at the switch is there.
Because you have two conflicts, one in the Middle East and one in the Near East, Eastern Europe, Ukraine and Iran, that are suddenly somehow merging. And what does that mean? It means a world war. And you have two sides with essentially inflexible positions. Not to get into the details, if you're following this, if you're one of the small percentage of Americans following this, you already know that there's no obvious resolution to either one of those conflicts anytime soon, and yet the stakes couldn't be higher.
Well, let's be honest about it. As far as resolutions, Trump needs to leave. We shouldn't have been involved in the Iranian conflict. That's number one. He got us involved, and the people are forgetting the real reason. Sometimes I think that's the problem. People forgot the reason that Trump got us involved in this Iranian conflict. He got us involved in the Iranian conflict as a distraction from the release of the Epstein files. That's what started this whole thing. That's what led us down this path. He has depleted our weaponry. He's embarrassed us on the world stage. Iran now has become a major world-class player. The only solution here is to back out of it. Simply put, back out. You're lost. Try to regroup. Build up your weapons and use diplomacy as best you can. As far as Ukraine go, Tucker, you're not being fair because you have it in for Zelensky. But the reality of it is, you keep forgetting that Ukraine was invaded. It was not bombing or attacking Russia. They are the victims here. The solution? Russia needs to leave.
And of course, the key participants in both of those wars, now becoming one war, are nuclear armed. And they feel that this is, to use a very tired term, existential for them. And so unless, again, the angle of attack, the trajectory changes really soon, we are going to wind up inevitably with the use of weapons of mass destruction.
That is crazy. I don't think people understand it, Tucker. I don't think people understand what you're saying. Because you see, we sit in America as if we're safe from all of this. But the reality of it is, if there is a nuclear exchange, it's coming to America. Okay? Ballistic missiles, hypersonic ballistic missiles from Russia can hit the United States. China can hit the United States. And it's crazy that we're sitting here in 2026 actually trying to understand and even get our mind wrapped around that we're possibly going to be in a nuclear conflict because, and you don't want to say it, but I'll say it for you, Tucker, one man, and his name is Donald J. Trump. And people need to accept that.
And you have one participant, President of the United States, openly threatening that already.
Thank you. Finally.
On Truth Social, on the internet, for everyone to see. We're going to eliminate your civilization. Well, of course.
And you got to understand, Tucker, that is crazy in itself. I'm sorry, but people don't want to say this about Donald Trump. But he is trifling. Donald Trump is trifling. And for those of you who don't understand it, look up the word. He is one trifling individual. He's an old man that has nothing left to do, and he's going to talk about wiping out a civilization. See, Tucker's not being as serious as he should be. I'm sorry. Continue.
You can't do that with tomahawks, but you can with nuclear weapons. So you have the President of the United States, whatever they tell you, openly threatening the use of nuclear weapons in a conflict that has no immediate or obvious resolution. So where's...
You keep saying that. Congress can put the pressure on Trump to get out of this. You keep saying we have no resolution. The resolution is we lost. We have to admit it. We lost. Leave.
That going? Well, toward a nuclear strike. And what happens then, God knows. But if you can even live with that fact, if you can even say, or just acknowledge without words that, yeah, this could wind up with people unleashing nuclear weapons on civilian populations, you're already around the bend. You've already proven yourself incapable of leadership because that's crazy.
Okay, so then say it. And he's right. What he's trying to say is Donald Trump is incapable of leadership. Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, J.D. Vance, RFK, all are incomparable. They're incompetent, and they should be disqualified for leading this nation. Now, that's what he needs to come out and say it. Tucker, you're still not coming out and crossing over the Rubicon. But I'll say what you won't say. Continue.
That's beyond reckless. That's, well, it's literally suicidal and homicidal.
Boom. Now, there you go. Tucker Carlson just said that the President of the United States is suicidal because hitting a nuclear bomb is going to hurt him. It's not. That's why he's building bunkers all over the place. He'll survive while we're all frying from radiation. But he is homicidal because we blew up a girls' school. We've shot up boats in Venezuela in the seas. So let's face it. Thank you for saying it. Tucker Carlson has alluded to the fact that Donald Trump is homicidal. And we've all known that. Anyone that really known Trump for years known that's the mindset of the man. The criminal mindset.
And at very least, you're paralyzed. You cannot act in defense, not simply of your country or your civilization, but even of yourself. But that's where we are. And the same goes for AI. Now, of course, it's unknown, as with the wars in Ukraine and Iran, where AI winds up, and maybe it's just a big bubble. It's the 2000 tech bubble. It's pets.com 100x, maybe. Or maybe the predictions of the people who are developing the technology turn out to be true, which is that it's like the end. At best, we give up our ability to make important life decisions to machines. We put machines in charge of our lives. That's at best. And at worst, the machines decide to kill us all and there's nothing we can do about it. That's
Somebody needs to go back and watch the original Terminator, because that's what we are moving towards, and people don't want to realize that, but we are giving AI too much power. We're setting up data centers to feed AI all over our country and all over the world, and it's been rumored that it was AI that had the coordinates that double tapped the girls' school in Iran. So at some point, we're giving this autonomous computer all of this thinking ability to make decisions for us. One day they may make a decision we don't want them to make, and we won't be able to stop them. Go ahead with that, Tuck.
They're saying, not, the doomsday prophets of Twitter, but the people who are developing this technology are saying, oh, by the way, this thing that we're making could kill everybody, and at very least will make certain that your kids and grandkids and probably you don't have jobs. And we're going to, I guess, do something about that, but it's not clear what.
You see, this is where Tucker's going to. Now, he's setting up the manifesto for his new party. But what I think Tucker's not trying to look at, sometimes, Tucker, we can't see the forest for the trees. Sometimes we can't see what's right in front of us. There's only been really one party that has been talking against AI. One party that has been talking about the dangers of AI. And you must admit, that's the Progressive Party.
And that's coming in like a year. Huh? What's remarkable about that is not simply that the people doing it are admitting it, but really trying to get our attention, telling us we're doing this, but that no one is doing anything. They're just.
I disagree. I disagree, people. Again, one of the things about Tucker and this new party is that, like most parties, like the Democratic Party and like the Republican Party, they try to act as if the Progressive Party does not exist, because they don't want the Progressive Party because, quote unquote, they're communists and they're socialists. But the reality of it is Bernie Sanders has been a vocal advocate against the powers of AI. He has documented it. He's talked about the dangers. He's talked about the job loss. So I think, Tucker, again, you're saying you're taking from Bernie and trying to come up with your own party, which I have to say, that's tacky.
Mesmerized, a fixed stare at this thing that might be the end of everything? Who acts like that?
Trump.
Well, normal people don't act like that, and certainly functional systems don't act like that. So without belaboring it, what does that tell you? It tells you that the system has reached the end.
That's
not
design?
Actually a system that's working on anyone's behalf. That says,
by whose design, Tucker? We had a system in place for 250 years, but in 2016, a rich old man came down a gold escalator and all hell broke loose.
System that is bound for probably pretty imminent destruction.
Yeah.
So that's going away.
Thanks to
You've
who?
probably known that. Any system that elects 80-year-olds to run the place.
Well, he's talking about Trump. You see what I'm saying? He's not saying it. He's not crossing over that line yet. But everything that's happened to this country, everything that people are rising up and finally noticing about our country, is in no small part to the administration of Donald Trump. And we have to understand that.
Cynical 80-year-olds is not long for this world. Like, it's...
Damn. You heard what he said? Again, you're not saying it, but what he's really saying is, we have a man that's 80 years old that sleeps on the job, got knees that are blown up like footballs, and based on what Tucker's seeing, he said Trump ain't got that much time left. Now, do you agree or not?
It's not reproducing in the same way that 80-year-olds don't reproduce. It's the end. And it is. And that's sad, and, certainly I've spent a lot of time complaining about it. But at this point, it's just obviously true, and so it's worth thinking about what comes next. Well, something, assuming we're all here, and you have to assume that. You certainly want to. And even if it's not true, you still have to plan for it. because we don't know. So something's coming next. Something will replace the system. And the highest hope is that replacement, whatever does come next, will be the result of an incremental process that people have time to metabolize and buy into, approve of, that we don't get an abrupt change, because abrupt changes of political leadership are, well, they're called revolutions. And they're not typically an improvement over what they're replacing. And they have their own downsides in any case. So you hope that this will somehow evolve into something less crazy, less cut off from its core mission, which is to serve the people who live here, and more humane and more pro-human, et cetera. That is just better in every way. You hope that. But in any case, we're getting something different.
That's a new party.
And the question is, what will that be? And again, we don't know. We know that changes in technology or power shifts globally, all of these facts on the ground are followed by political changes. Political changes follow those changes. They don't incite those changes, right? They're responses to those changes. And so we're getting political changes. They will find political expression. And will it be a third party? Probably.
There you go.
The most radicalizing fact of American politics in the last, century is the confirmation that we got on or about February 28th that the parties on the big issues are identical. Trump initiates the one thing he said he'd never do, a regime change war in the Middle East against Iran, a country much bigger and more powerful than the last regime change we attempted, which didn't work. And there were no protests against it because, of course, the leaders of the other parties.
You see, that's the problem. Tucker is trying to lump this into a Democrat or Republican. Even when he said and alluded to a third party, what he's really doing is, again, jumping over the Progressive Party. I'm sorry, Tucker. When you look at this and you say no one said anything, it's only because you are ignoring the progress of and the voice of and the existence of the Progressive Party, i.e., no King's Rally, i.e., stop the oligarchs rally. People have been talking, but not the Democrats and not the Republicans, the progressives.
His supposed enemies agreed with him completely, as they did with his budget fundamentally, certainly with the tax code that he endorsed. And that tells us what? One thing at least, that on the issues that really matter, the most obvious and historically significant expressions of the exertion of power, which would be foreign policy and the budget, tax code, the parties are aligned. They're the same. They have the same agenda.
They do. Yeah, the Democrats and Republicans. Listen, Schumer's a bum. Schumer's a bum, and Hakeem, I don't even know Hakeem, and I don't trust Hakeem. But the reality of it is, you're saying that the Democrats and the Republicans in some regard are in bed together, and I will agree with you on that, but I will not agree with you that the Progressive Party is in any way, shape, or form happy about the tax code and the big, beautiful bill, happy about the foreign wars, happy about what's going on with the tax code. They are not happy, and they have spoken up about it. So again, Tucker's not giving the Progressive Party the credit and the existence that is due. People, I believe it's time that we embrace Progressive Party. What are your thoughts?
Exactly the same agenda. And they go through this whole song and dance to convince us, no, we're really blood enemies. But are they really? No, they're not. And once again, just to restate the obvious, because you can't state the obvious enough, if Trump's opponents really opposed what he was doing, well, then we would have people in the streets, famously, and the party whose whole self-understanding is people taking to the streets and marching for this, that, or the other thing, especially peace, would be marching for peace. And
again, he's not giving any credit. And I think this goes to your discredit, Tucker. You're trying to make this about your third party as if the Progressive Party is nothing. But the Progressive Party's been in the streets. The Progressive Party has been in the streets with the No Kings rally. The Progressive Party has been in the street with the Stop the Oligarchs rally. Bernie Sanders, AOC, Mondami, these guys have been on the ground floor of trying to build a progressive movement, and they have been the ones doing the work that you're coming along right now and saying, hey, listen, we need somebody to do it. Guys, we have to give some credence to the Progressive Party.
Against this war, but they're not.
They are.
And why aren't they? Because they're not against it. That's why.
Oh, the Democrats are bums.
Not to complain about it, but just to sort of set the predicate for the next stage in our lives as American citizens. We know that the parties are aligned on the issues that matter against the population. Now, how do we know it's against the population? Because we have public opinion polling. And it may not be precisely right, but over time, we get a pretty clear picture of people's priorities. And the big things that the U.S. government, endorsed by both parties, are doing, which is spying on you more, moving an ever-growing share of gross domestic product to a smaller percentage of the population, invading countries, spending $1.5 trillion a year on a military they can't win a war, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all the things that they're doing, the big things. Population doesn't want those things. And they're really concerned, despite a lot of hectoring from their leaders, about the price of burritos. And you could say, well, that's awfully small-minded of you, and you shouldn't be eating $20 burritos. But, maybe people want to choose what they eat, and they don't want to pay 30% more for it over a year or whatever the number is, but it's a big hike.
Well, whose fault, Tucker? Whose fault is the hike in prices? Once again, you're skating around the facts. The reality of it is that the reason why prices are so high is because Donald Trump used tariffs against foreign countries as leverages for his business. So the Trump orb made money, okay? The foreign companies were tariffed. The American consumer paid the bill. But now, people, I don't know if you heard this or not, Trump is giving back billions of dollars to Walmart, Amazon, all these other countries that passed on, that increased prices to the tariffs to us. But as consumers, we're not getting a damn dime. Tucker, you're not being fair. You're not talking about Trump. You're not coming out and saying it. Come out and say it. Show me the guts you've got. People, what do you think?
And so if you really cared what people wanted, you would take that seriously. But as noted, not only do the people in charge not care what you want, they're actively hostile to what you want. And the fact that you want it is evidence to them that it's illegitimate. Well, you shouldn't want that. You entitled little kid. What are you, a college student? The ones who aren't going to have jobs thanks to the AI, they're all invested in. I mean, you see this is like it's too disconnected to continue. So probably going to get a third party or multiple parties. Is that the best system?
We've already got a third party. It's called the Progressive Party. Stop. So if you want a party, Tucker, I don't care. But don't act like you're going to be the third party. You are the fourth party. Read it right, people.
I don't know. It's better than the one we have. Will that be enough is the question. And the answer, the hard answer, is no. Because when you hear people say, well, there's no political solution to this, well, of course, you're rooting for a political solution because the alternative is something, kinetic, as they say. And you don't want that. You don't want violence of any kind. But you also know that there are no political solutions to anything, really, in any system. Because the society behaves consistent over time with the values and concerns of the people who live there. Which is to say, if you want to change human behavior, passing laws against it doesn't get you there. What gets you there is convincing people it's the right thing to do. Obviously, there's no law against screaming the F word at your toddler in Walmart, probably, or certainly in the parking lot. Can't be arrested for that. There's no statute that says you can't use vulgar language with your kids, but who does that? Well, very few people. Because if you try that, give the finger to an old lady in a crosswalk, probably not illegal. No one does that. Why? Because if you try it, obviously people are like, what are you doing? That's disgusting. And so you don't. So, in other words, if you want to change a society, yeah, you definitely need more options on the ballot. You definitely need leaders.
Like who? Like who? Marjorie?
Want to serve
Massey?
the citizens of the country because they care about the citizens of the country. And of course, service follows caring. If you love someone, you want to serve that person.
You got to understand about this party that Tucker and Marjorie are trying to build and will release, and we will hear his manifesto. This party is made up of Trump rejects. This new party that he's forming is made up of people that all left the orbit of MAGA and all left the orbit of Donald Trump, either vis-a-vis being kicked out of MAGA or leaving MAGA on their own volition or having a break with Trump, which caused the separation of MAGA. So to be honest, it's still the core of MAGA. It's just free now from Donald Trump. What's your thoughts?
But more than anything, you need a population that has clear goals, that knows what the program should be. Don't give the finger to old ladies in a crosswalk. Just don't do that. We all agree. You need a consensus on what we're doing here. Like, what is the whole point of this? That's what you need to start. And it turns out if you have that consensus, a lot of problems get solved over time. Not immediately. Some problems are, if not intractable, very complex. But if you get the fundamentals right, they tend to get better over time. And if you don't, they inexorably get worse. That we know. And so any effort to fix America's systemic problems with technocratic solutions is by definition doomed to fail because it doesn't address how you got here in the first place.
You see, now, he wasn't saying that in 2016. He wasn't saying that in the second term when he campaigned for Donald Trump. Tucker, you were saying that Trump was the solution. You were saying that the systemic problems of America, in your mind, created by the Democrats, was fixable by Trump. Except you misunderstood and underestimated Donald Trump's own self-survival and his own selfishness. That's the reality. Now you're saying that you thought nobody could ever fix it. Tucker's not being honest. Do you think he's being honest?
How did we wind up with $1 trillion in debt? Trillions and trillions, unpayable debt.
And who did that? Who put us in debt, Tucker? First term was Donald Trump. He raised up the national deficit. Second term, Donald Trump put us in national deficit. More than any other president, this guy has made us all broke. So let's be honest about it. Yes, the deficit has grown over time. Democrats added to it. Okay, but the reality of it is Donald Trump has put more debt on our backs by looking out for his rich friends than any other president in the nation's history. What do you got to say about that?
Well, because we kept electing people who added to it, including the current occupant of the White House.
Now, see, say the damn name. Including Donald Trump, who put more debt on us than any other president, including Donald Trump, who did it his first term. The reality of it is you have a man who used us to give tax credits to his rich friends that increased the deficit. Bam.
Why did we do that? Well, because we have a pretty distorted understanding about what debt is and what it does to people and nations. We're not setting the right goals. We don't think that's important to avoid debt. And if we did, we probably wouldn't, over many decades, have accrued a debt that is unpayable and, in fact, controlling us. So all of this goes back to one of the things that nobody in politics ever admits out loud, but is just true, which is the most important thing you can do if you want to change a world, a region, a civilization, a nation, a neighborhood, a person. The most important thing you can do is tell the truth out loud, always. The words are the most important thing. They're not the whole solution, but they're the beginning of the change. Tell the truth out loud.
He's scared. Who Tucker? I'm sorry. Who's the liar here? Who's lied more than 40,000 times? Who breathes out lies? Who's the guy that can't tell the truth if he can tell the truth? The only thing he knows how to do is lie. Your friend, Marjorie's friend, Donald Trump, is a liar. All he does is lie. Every word that comes out of his mouth is a lie. Now you're calling it out, but you didn't call it out before. Hey guys, do you think Donald Trump's a liar?
What is true? And there are a lot of ways to prove this. But the only meaningful relics we have of any former civilization are the ideas that they promoted, the words they said. And to the extent those have survived, they have affected and influenced subsequent generations. The most important legacy of the Roman Empire is not its aqueducts, some of which still stand because they were awesome architects and great builders, and they used stone, not reinforced concrete, and that's all impressive. But the most enduring legacy of Rome, of course, is Christianity. With Constantine was a state religion, and it's still the world's biggest religion. So it's the words that matter. above all. And that's why tyrants famously, and all governments actually, try to constrain what you can say. That's the first thing they do before they try to disarm you, is they try to tell you what you can say.
Now, who's doing that? Who's using his rich friends to buy up legacy media? Who's suing people for telling the truth? Who's trying to shut up people for opening up their mouths and whistleblowing? Donald Trump. You're coming out and saying this stuff now that everybody has seen. Donald Trump has been trying to shut us up and shut the American public up and shut up news media from exposing the corruption and the complete destruction of our country. You see it now, Tucker? Do you finally understand what your friend has done to us?
And so we thought it'd be useful just to set down the goals of whatever comes next. And it'll find all kinds of expressions. And hopefully it's better than what we have, but we know it'll be different from what we have because what we have literally doesn't work. It can't protect itself from the greatest threats in human history. So here are...
Now, let me tell you right now, he's getting ready to give us this manifesto. Now, people, I want you to understand something about Tucker's and Marjorie's and this new third party that does not even have a name yet, what the manifesto is. And I think as you go through the 10 points of his manifesto, you're going to realize if you're not prejudiced against a party that already exists, Tucker's giving us the answer of which way to go, and it's not Republican, and it's not Democrats. And to be honest, the party that Tucker is describing is the one that he should come alongside. But I think he's a little bit too bigoted for that. So we're going to take a stop. We're going to take a look at this. Open up your minds, people. This is the new manifesto. This is the new party.